Hey everyone, it's Hollie Kitchens here, and today I'm going to talk about 11 ways that you guys can create an intentional online presence. So these are ways that I personally have done myself, as well as helping with many other entrepreneurs and, of course, real estate agents just like yourself. So, like I said, I'm Hollie Kitchens. Not only am I licensed with EXP as a real estate agent, but I also help unknown entrepreneurs expand their digital footprint, overcoming the lack of authority that they have in their marketplace through various methods, such as social media strategies, podcast launching, getting featured in media, so on and so forth. I am very fortunate to say that I'm an internationally chartered podcast host. Very humble to say that I was 2022 one of the 50 success women of influence. I have over 100 million Jiffy views, and I've helped over 1,000 people when it comes to business and branding. So I just want to dive into my backstory real quick and tell you guys how I got started. I grew up in a very small town called Rush Springs, Oklahoma. I'm sure none of you guys on this call have heard about it. However, I will say it's a super small town with a population of 1,300. Not only did I grow up in a small town, but I also grew up in the low income housing sector. So to say that I struggle is definitely an understatement. I grew up super shy, and it really kind of happened in first grade. I was trying to get this little boy's attention, and I was playing tag with him. As I tagged him, I pictured he would turn around, ask me to marry him. We would fall in love, and the rest is history. Unfortunately, though, whenever he tagged me, I turned around and got his attention, and he said, "Hollie, why do you wear the same pants to school every day?" And unfortunately, it was because legitimately that was the only pair of pants that I had. So from that moment in time moving forward, I was so embarrassed, and I really thought attention equals negativity. It really spilled into adulthood. I became a licensed real estate agent in 2010, and I loved about it because I was on a team and I got to hide behind my broker's face, his signs. Everything was him, right? I was just a buyer's agent. I still got to play it safe, lay low on the radar, and didn't have my name out there. It started in 2017 when I launched my podcast. I was doing an online boutique, and I wanted to dabble in e-commerce. And I did what any smart business owner would do, and that was to hire a coach to see around corners and collapse time. And he asked me a very profound question that really hit hard to me, and that was, "Hollie, what are you doing different than Amazon or Target? You can go there and buy a Guns N' Roses shirt for $12. Why would they come to your online only boutique where they couldn't fill the material and they don't know who you are, and they're going to pay 3 times the amount of money?" And it really kind of struck a chord with me because at that moment of time, I was playing it safe. I still was being unknown. I was hiding behind a logo, and I was just kind of scared to put myself out there. And that moment of time, I decided, you know what? It's me. I'm what Target doesn't have. I'm what Amazon doesn't have. So at that time, I decided I was going to launch a podcast. So my boutique was like a rock and roll kind of theme. And what I would do is I would go in and interview these musicians, but I'd also loop in my community and ask them to submit their questions, submit the artists that they would like to have on the podcast, so on and so forth. I started to build a community of not just customers, but raving fans. So when I started doing that myself, of course, it was just a hobby, having fun. My friends, and of course, I have a lot of friends in the real estate area, started asking me, like, "How are you doing this? What are you doing differently? Who's doing this for you?" And it kind of might help me, like, kind of create a light bulb moment where I was like, "Wait a minute. I can help other people do the exact same thing." So that's exactly why we're here. So let's go ahead and get into it. You guys, about 5 or 6 years ago, I was non-existent online. If you were to type in Hollie Kitchens, absolutely nothing would come up. I'd actually go into Facebook and hide my profile so it wouldn't come up in a Facebook search. So from there, I turned that into, now I have an intentional online presence. So I know you guys are probably thinking like, okay, this is a cool story, but more importantly, guys, I'm gonna show you guys how you can do it and how you can expand your digital footprint. So these are ways I personally created a digital footprint, built a following, and established authority online. So I want you guys to do this right now. Real quick, grab out your phones, and I want you to Google your first and your last name. Now, if you have a pretty common name, maybe first, last name realtor, first, last name real estate, first, last name city, I want you guys to take in consideration a few things. Number one, I want you to rate yourself. How are you showing up online? Look into the different tabs, look into the image tabs, look into the news tabs, look into the video tabs. How are you guys showing up? And rate yourself. But also, what I want you guys to take in consideration while you're doing this, where does your presence fall short? Where are you not showing up? Are you, maybe the image search isn't showing maybe but one picture and that was like your Facebook profile picture. Maybe your videos aren't showing up at all, or maybe it's an old YouTube video you did like 10 years ago. Pay attention to that, because what I want you guys to kind of do is have this in the back of your mind. And as I go through these 11 ways to create authority, let's kind of have in our mind where we can fill those holes. So while we guys are doing all that, and real quick, you guys go ahead and put your phones up. While we're doing that, I want you guys to also think about 3 to 5 words you want associated with your brand. Now, these are going to be the key words moving forward. We're going to intentionally show up. So maybe you want to be known as the luxury agent, maybe a commercial agent, maybe you want to be known as the go-to relocation specialist. Of course, as real estate agents, we have so many keywords we would associate with, but think about that. Maybe it's expert home finder, whatever the case may be. You want that to align with your brand, and you want it to align with your avatar. And for those who don't know what an avatar is, it's like your ideal customer or client, right? So it's maybe it's first-time home sellers, maybe like I said, it's luxury, so on and so forth. Number two, it also needs to be, you want it to be what you want to be known for. So for instance, for me, I want to help people with podcasting. So I want to be known as like the go-to podcast girl, right? And then also too, these keywords should be evergreen. And real quick, let's talk about how you don't create an intentional online. So you don't fake it till you make it. With this day and age, people know that when it comes to you are going off and pulling their leg, they will be completely aware of it. Don't fake it till you make it. People love the journey. Embrace where you are right now and take your followers and your audience with them through that journey of progression of growth. Next, you guys don't also use credentials. I know it's so tempting to pay $50 to be on a Forbes magazine cover, but don't do that, because again, people are noticing that it's kind of hard for us to be featured on big things like that whenever we actually haven't been. Don't sell other people's content. Always give credit where credit's due. And of course, you guys, don't be perfect. No one's perfect. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start with tip number one, or way number one, and that's going to be podcasting. This is my absolute favorite way of creating an online presence with intention, is because you get to be the host of whatever you want it to be. But also, you guys, podcasting gets you access to authority and it gets you access to celebrity. I know that sounds like a big deal, but with being a podcaster, I've gotten into rooms that I could never ever pay myself to get into. So I know a lot of you guys tuning in and listening it's not going to be an international rock star maybe, but however, maybe that dream landing you'll get would be with your builder, or it would be with someone that you want to do business with, or maybe it's with a real estate agent you want to have on your team. Podcasting is a great way for you guys to strategically meet with people, but then also too, you get to be featured on things too. So you don't use those fake credentials. You actually get to use real credentials. You get to say, hey, I'm on iHeartRadio, I'm on Spotify, I'm on Amazon Alexa, so on and so forth. 2 quick ways that you guys can start podcasting if you're looking to podcast. Number one is going to be go to Anchor. So it's ANCHOR.FM. So anchor.fm is a free way to podcast. I always tell people, if you are just looking to dabble into it as a hobby, this is the go-to way, because it is, like I said, free and it's so easy to use. So that's platform number one. The other platform I'd recommend, and again, you guys only need one, is going to be Libsyn. So libsyn.com. That's going to be a way that you guys can start a podcasting journey. And with that, you only take your audio and you upload it once, and it distributes it to all the platforms. So with that being said, after you guys launch your podcast, you are a podcaster. And just some tips too, with the real estate community, you guys can go through and do like neighborhood specific. You can do town specific community. Be known as the go-to expert in your marketplace. And when you guys are creating these podcast episodes and these podcasts, always end the title with your first and last name. Again, we're creating that intentional online presence. And with us being like the go-to neighborhood expert, people are going to start maybe searching that neighborhood. And once they search it, your name's going to pop up associated with those videos and the podcast episodes that you guys would be publishing. So that's number one. Number two is going to be interviewing influencers. And this kind of comes hand in hand when it comes to podcasting. You guys can interview influencers like on your podcast, Or if you guys just want to take it to like do a Facebook Live, like via StreamYard, something like that, that's another way. But interviewing influencers, and it doesn't have to be, famous people. Think about your local celebrities. Think about, when people are buying a home, what are they looking for? They're looking for information. Think about the school board, people who are on the school board. Maybe think about mayors. Think about a big builder in the area. Interviewing those types of influencers so that when people are gathering information and they're trying to seek out, you're going to be the go-to person when it comes to that. So interviewing influencers is a great way to really position yourself in authority and really kind of say, okay, well, who is Hollie and why does the drummer of Sub 41 want to be interviewed by her, right? Number three is going to be getting interviewed. So getting interviewed is kind of the flip of that, right? So you go from being the person conducting the interview to now people are seeing you as a person of influence and they want to interview specifically on a specific topic. So getting on podcasts, getting on Facebook Lives, it could be you and maybe you're somebody on your team. You guys interview each other when people start searching for something and you always want to, I will say this, when you guys are getting interviewed, always associate that topic back to those 3 to 5 keywords that we talked about in the beginning of this presentation, because you want to be known as that. We are creating intention in everything that we do. Number 4 is going to be getting featured in media. This is probably my second favorite way to create authority because I know it sounds super scary, but it's very easy to do. I've gotten featured in so many articles that are intentional, right? Like, so I've gotten, let's see, an article on how to create a fantastic podcast. I got one on Hollie Kitchens of EXP, community over competition. Again, aligning back to those 3 to 5 keywords, getting featured in media is such a fantastic way because usually these media outlets will get you on the front page of Google. So when people type your first and last name, it's not just your social media profiles, but it's also going to be, those articles that were written about you as well as those videos that you have created. So the ways that you guys can get in featured in media, and I'm going to tell you a PR secret. So PR agencies are not going to be very happy with me, but it's called HARO, and that's HARO. That stands for Help a Reporter Out. So what that is it's literally a place where writers can come in and they can submit what they need an expert on. So they're looking for experts just like you guys out there. And you'll subscribe. So if you just go to Google and you type in like help a reporter, it'll come up. I believe it's helpareporter.com. Anyways, so you guys subscribe to that. And what will happen is you'll get a daily email with 2 times a day. So I guess 2 times a day email. And with that being said, it will be a list of articles. Of course, there's going to be stuff that's not relative to real estate. You just bypass it. But I know so many friends who, through this method, I've helped them get featured in media just by replying quickly. Some tips on getting featured is when you guys are replying back, think of it as a pitch. So you're going to pitch yourself to be that expert. Don't pitch yourself first, pitch the topic at hand, and then you put yourself in as the expert. So for an example, when I did the podcasting one, I didn't reply back and say, hey, I'm an awesome podcaster. You need to quote me, la, la, la. No offense, you guys, but they weren't interested in who I was. They were interested in how I could help their audience, if that makes sense. So what I did is I replied back and I hit them with a statistic. So I was like, with 80% of Americans knowing what podcasting is, it's no wonder why it's a popular content strategy. Unfortunately, though, a lot of podcasters stop before they start with the podcasting journey, only ending in episode 2 or 3. And then after that, I went in and said, oh, I'm Hollie Kitchens, and this is, I'm internationally chartered podcast, so on and so forth. Been podcasting since 2017. And then I pitched myself. So when you guys are replying to these, first, you have to be super fast because they usually have deadlines and they're usually submitting this information in because they need to get you or get some quotes ASAP because their deadline is like in 2 days. So act fast and then pitch the topic at hand, throw it in a statistic, and then rope yourself back into how you can help them with that particular subject. I'm telling you guys, this is a free way to get featured in media, and it can be anybody from Forbes down to an independent blogger. There's a lot of outlets that come to here. So again, you guys sign up for Haro if getting featured in media is something that you guys want to do. Next tip of how to create an online presence is going to be writing for media outlets. So we just talked about getting featured, but what about writing for the outlet itself? There are a few ways that you guys can do this. Me personally, how I do it is I'm a writer for Entrepreneur. So entrepreneur.com, we all know that outlet. I write for them. And the great thing is since I'm the writer, I get to control the subject. So it's things like 6 ways to build a strong online presence. It's 4 ways to create, or why business owners need to create a podcast. Again, going back with intention and aligning my 3 to 5 keywords with this. If you guys just go into a Google search and type in like writing or entrepreneur leadership network, you will, I actually got in right before they changed it to from free to paid. You will have to have a membership with them, and it's only $1,000 a year. But they do not take your money unless you get accepted into it. Now, I will say this, it is an application process. And I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. The first time I applied to write for Entrepreneur, they hit me with a big no. So if you guys get declined and they say, so sorry, you can't write for us at this point in time, and I think they give you like a 90-day window to reapply. What you can do is add it into your calendar and remind yourself in 90 days to reapply. I will say this. I had kind of like that lesson learned moment. I was like, okay, so why did they say no to me? And I copied and pasted my submit information. So I go back and reflect on it. And I looked through and I was like, me. And again, I was like, okay, Holly, of course, we're not pitching ourselves. We're pitching how we can help their audience. So I came back through and I pitched with expertise and examples of how I could help their readers and their network, be educated on the ways that I could help them. And then I got accepted. So again, that one is going to cost, it's $1,000 a year, but they only take your $1,000 if you get accepted. And with that $1,000, you have unlimited entries. So you can literally write every single day for the rest of the year and be featured in an intentional way. So it's a fantastic way to be able to say, hey, I'm a writer for Entrepreneur. It's a great way to build that authority. Next is to co-host a show. And again, this doesn't have to be a podcast. It's actually not a podcast, right? You can take some episodes and maybe put them on a podcasting platform, but just do a weekly live show. And I did one with my friend Nick Krim, and we did one that's called Real Estate, Branding, and Content. Again, keywords I want to be known and be associated with. And we would have real estate agents as guests. We would talk about the cool things that they're doing. The great thing about hosting a show is you guys get to cross-pollinate audiences. So Nick was getting into my people and I was getting into Nick's people. So we were expanding our knowledge, but then also too as well, we were building that intentional online presence with those keywords associated. Next is going to be do cool stuff on social media. And I know that's super vague, but what I mean by that is be a trend follower real quick. I always tell people I'm not a trendsetter, I'm a trend follower. So what you want to do is hop on trends happening ASAP and be that person to take it and run with it. So an example for me is Jiffy. So if you guys go into like the story stickers, or if you guys go in and reply, there's this little GIFs that you guys can reply like on Facebook. I'm actually featured. If you guys type in Hollie Kitchens, you can see like my little stickers, my silly little fun things that I've gotten. But it's so funny because the way I started doing Jiffy is I was using story stickers and I was always using this one girl. And I'm like, why am I keep using her whenever I can be using myself and putting myself out there as branding? Fast forward to today, I think that was 2 years ago. I have over 1.5 million views on my GIFs. And I use those and I upload them and I use keywords. So when people type in like say for sale or real estate, I'll have my real estate like just sold sign like flashing and like just smiling and things like that. Create it around your brand. And then what's going to be funny is when you use those keywords, tagging it, people are going to start using them. And then people are going to start seeing that. I get so many screenshots all the time of people are like, oh my gosh, you are on so-and-so's story. And they don't know who I am. But at the end of the day, it comes back to those keywords and being intentional about it. So how you guys can get on Jiffy is you guys go to Jiffy, Giphy, and create a brand channel. There is an application process. It is free. You don't have to pay for anything, but you go through and you get approved. And then from there, you can upload your transparent stickers and your Jiffies and things like that too. And then you can start your Jiffy journey. So that's going to be a way that you guys can show up online. And what the cool thing is you guys can go through and find yourself on a Google search with those. Next tip is going to be building an influencer website. Now, when you guys Googled your name, one thing you probably noticed is the very first website at the top was probably a social media platform. And I will tell you guys why this is an issue. When people are Googling your name, they're going to type in Hollie Kitchens. And if Instagram's the first thing that pops up. They click on it and they go to my Instagram page. That's great. We have, curated a timeline of intention. But what's going to happen is they're going to see a notification that someone just liked their picture. So they're going to go down the rabbit hole of notifications from social media. When you guys create an influencer website, and what I mean by that is it's like an online resume. So if you guys go to holliekitchens.com, you can kind of see an example. I show where I've been featured in media. I show speaking information. I show articles I've been featured in. And everything is great because I get to put out there with intentions what I want people to see. So when I direct them to my website, they get to see all the things and I don't get lost in a feed or I don't have to battle an algorithm. And again, that's going to be the number one thing you guys want to feature. So there's so many great ways. I don't even KV Core. You guys can go through and create simple landing pages, so on and so forth. But having your first and last name.com and it being like an influencer, talking about who you are, how you serve your community. And then from there, you can have, up in the menu, you can have your home search and so on and so forth. But it's just a fantastic way to create your online presence with intention. Next is going to be publish your content that's going to be around your expertise. So it could be really quick downloads. It could be, 5 ways to win a listing. It could be, if you're looking to attract agents, it could be, 6 ways to know about before you buy a home, so on and so forth. Just creating really quick downloads for your people. It not only allows you to create and generate a list, but also too, you're putting out information. When people search your name, it's going to show up. Next is going to be create courses. And these are super simple. You guys can hop on Zoom, record yourself talking about whatever it is that you specialize in. Throw it up on Udemy is an easy way. So it's udemy.com. You can throw your podcast course up there. You can throw up, maybe you're really good and awesome at TikTok. Whatever it is that you're really awesome at, create a simple course, put it up online, because when you're teaching other people how to do it, of course, you're the expert in it because you know how to do it. The last way that you guys can build an intentional online presence online is going to be speaking on stages. Now, this is one that does not happen overnight. With that being said, everything we've talked to at this point will lead you to be invited to speak on big stages, and it really is a great way because people will go online, of course, and add in that event trying to sell tickets, and they'll search your name because your name's on as a speaker, and you'll be associated with names like I've gotten on HSRA Summit stage, and Elena Cardone was on there. I've gotten to speak on the same stage as Sharon Letcher, traffic and conversion. There's just so many stages I've been very grateful to be a part of. And it was because of all the work I put in building that intentional online presence and letting people know what I was an expert in and how I can help add value to their audience. So I am going to close out today with just some tips for you guys moving forward. Number one, you guys, this is the number one homework assignment for you, is making sure all your social media profiles are consistent. When you guys are building an online presence and you guys are putting yourself out there, like to get featured on media, speaking on stages, the people who are going to put you on those stages are going to do a little bit of homework on you. And if they go through your social media and maybe an old one says that you were working with somewhere previously and then your fresh one, you just have to audit yourself. So go in and make sure all your social media profiles are consistent with who you are and how you're going to show up. I would also say too, making sure your handles are the same as well. So whenever you guys are inviting someone to, like, let's just say you're inviting to a birthday party, you don't give them 6 different addresses, you give them one. And that's how a social media handle should be as well. So mine is at Hollie Kitchens. That's it. It's the same one on Instagram as it is on Facebook, as it is on LinkedIn, so on and so forth. And the reason that is because one address. You don't want to say, okay, well, on Facebook, I'm Hollie.kitchens. On Instagram, I'm Hollie857_kitchens. You can see the confusion and how that creates. Making sure that your guys' social media handles are all the same. Also, you guys, another tip is be authentic, be you. People love the journey and they love seeing people grow and they love to grow with you. Next is consistently give value. When you guys are putting yourself out there and adding in intentional online presence, don't just sell. Give value, let people know how they can learn from you. Next tip is going to be get clear on why people binge your content and 10x that. Meaning go through and kind of see what popular videos you've posted on Facebook, what popular Instagram posts you've done. Take notice of why people are binging on that content and go through and create those, live shows based with those topics, so on and so forth. And lastly, you guys, get on as many shows, live, podcast stages as you possibly can. If it aligns with your brand and it aligns, of course, with your moral compass, there's no reason why you guys should not be going out there. Just want to say thank you guys so much for your time today. I'd love to connect with you at Hollie Kitchens on all platforms. If you guys have any questions from today, I'd be more than happy to answer them. This is something I'm super passionate about because, like I said, I was that shy little girl hiding behind a logo. And now I'm not only doing it myself, but I'm also helping other people that, just like you, get out there and be known for what they're known in the marketplace. So this concludes today's presentation. Again, thank you so much for joining me. And hopefully you guys found at least one way you guys can implement how you can show up online with intention.